The moment the chains clanked around his boat, the lake went silent. Everyone watching knew something was about to explode. Ethan had bought the lakefront property for peace, not power struggles. His boat was big, yes, but it was legal, registered, and parked exactly where the deed allowed. Still, the HOA president, Karen Miller, stood with crossed arms, smiling like she'd finally won. She claimed the boat was too large and ruining the view. What she didn't say was how long she'd wanted control of the lake. Ethan stayed calm as a tow truck backed closer, neighbors whispering, phones recording. Karen loudly promised this video would end with Ethan embarrassed and fined. But this story wasn't about a boat. It was about a lake, a hidden rule, and a legal line Karen never should have crossed. As the tow hook lifted, Ethan made one quiet phone call that would change everything by sunset. Karen had waited years for this moment. As president of the boating club tied to the HOA, she believed the lake belonged to her influence. She waved printed bylaws, claiming authority over every inch of water. Ethan listened without interrupting, letting her speak until her confidence overflowed. Neighbors gathered closer, drawn by the tension in her voice. She announced that the club would ban Ethan permanently once the boat was removed. What Karen didn't realize was that Ethan had read every line of the original land deed months earlier. He had seen a clause most people ignored, one that separated ownership from association control. While Karen celebrated early, Ethan calmly asked the tow driver to pause. His voice carried no anger, only certainty. He said a legal notice was already prepared. That single sentence shifted the air. Karen laughed, unaware that her authority was about to evaporate in front of everyone watching. The legal notice arrived faster than anyone expected. A local officer stepped out of his car, holding a sealed document. Karen's smile froze as she tried to assert her role again. The officer politely asked her to step back. Ethan remained still, eyes on the water he had dreamed of owning since childhood. The notice explained that the lake was privately deeded, not HOA controlled, and that any unauthorized towing or enforcement was a violation. The boating club's privileges depended entirely on permission from the landowner. Karen's voice cracked as she realized what that meant. The same rules she used to threaten others now worked against her. Neighbors watched as the officer explained that continuing would trigger penalties. Karen looked around for support, but found only silence. Ethan hadn't raised his voice once, yet the balance of power had shifted completely. Karen tried to recover, claiming the boating club had historical rights. Ethan calmly requested she read the final paragraph of the notice out loud. Her hands shook as she reached the section marked in bold. It stated that any attempt to tow, restrict, or intimidate the property owner would result in permanent loss of lake access for the offending organization. The boating club members standing behind her slowly stepped back. They hadn't known the risk she'd taken for them. The tow driver unhooked the boat without being asked. Ethan finally spoke again, thanking the officer and the neighbors for witnessing everything. Karen's authority collapsed in real time, not with shouting, but with clarity. The lake reflected the evening sun as if nothing had happened, but everyone there knew something had ended. Within hours, news spread through the community. The boating club received formal notice that their access was revoked indefinitely. Members who once followed Karen without question now demanded answers. Ethan didn't celebrate or gloat. He simply returned to his chair by the water, watching the ripples move outward. He had never wanted control over others, only protection of what was rightfully his. Karen avoided the lake entirely after that day. The HOA board scheduled emergency meetings, but there was nothing to undo. The legal line had been crossed, documented, and enforced. For the first time, the lake felt peaceful again. Neighbors approached Ethan, thanking him quietly. They had all felt the pressure before. His calm response gave them something rare, relief. Weeks later, the HOA quietly removed all lake-related rules from their website. Karen resigned from the boating club soon after, her influence gone. Ethan continued to enjoy the water, inviting respectful neighbors to fish or sit nearby. The boat remained where it had always belonged. The story became a reminder shared in the community, not as gossip, but as a lesson. Power without understanding collapses quickly. Rights, when known, don't need shouting. Ethan had proven that standing firm could be peaceful and powerful at the same time. The lake no longer felt like a battlefield. It felt like home. On a calm morning, Ethan watched the sun rise over the water, his boat resting quietly beside the dock. The lake reflected freedom now, not conflict. Karen's attempt to control what she never owned had cost her everything she valued. One legal notice, one overlooked clause, had rewritten the rules completely. The neighbors remembered the day not for the drama, but for the clarity it brought. Ethan never sought revenge, only fairness. And fairness had won, and that was the final twist in this unbelievable HOA story. If you love the drama, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment sharing your thoughts. It really helps this channel grow.